Thank you, Danny, and thank you, Jam and Twilio and Cloudflare for hosting this. The last time we were here, it was about a month ago. It was an incredible experience, and this time is turning out to be pretty incredible also. So thanks for having me. My name is Adam, and I'm a developer advocate at Weaviate. And Weaviate is an open source vector database. Is anyone familiar with the term vector database? Okay, I see a lot of hands, and it might be because there's like 1 billion vector databases on the market. Okay, and I'm not painting the picture that Weaviate is one of the billion. We're special. So, okay, so for everyone who didn't raise their hand, vector databases are a mechanism in machine learning pipelines that allow you to store vector representations of data so that you can do search over them in incredibly fast ways. And there's lots of players in the market right now, Pinecone, Weaviate, Quadrant, etc. Weaviate is one of these many vector databases. Has anyone ever used Weaviate before? Okay, nice. I see some hands in the back. Awesome. I'm going to show you today a demo which will use Weaviate, and hopefully we can get some inspiration out of it. Okay, so Weaviate's been in the game since 2016. We've been working with vector embeddings well before ChatGPT became popular. And the reason why we have billions of vector databases on the market right now is because ChatGPT made this space really popular. And a lot of money and investor money came into the market to basically push this industry forward. It was pretty incredible. So we have a lot of movement. We have a lot of vector databases. We also have a lot of people thinking about this space. So Weaviate's been thinking about this since 2016. We've been integrating with large language models at OpenAI as early as 2019. If you check out our repo on GitHub, it's open source. We've had integrations as early as 2019. And when ChatGPT came out in 2020, at the end of 2022, this space just blew up, and it was amazing. So at Weaviate, we have tons of enterprise customers already using us in production. We're being used for product recommendations. We're being used for recommendation systems, massive data search, discovery of products, e-commerce search, and even targeted marketing. It's really cool to see some of the use cases that our customers have come up with, and I've just been trying to keep up with the demand and trying to build samples and demos to get more companies doing more interesting things with vector databases. Okay, so this is our website, and one day I'm working with my team, and we're looking at other channels on social media, on Twitter specifically, about LangChain, Llama Index. These are our partners, and we wanted to learn more about what makes them so successful on social media. And so my manager gives me this task, and I'm looking at probably 600 tweets in a given week to analyze. And I'm not going to go through each one. Well, I first thought maybe I'll go through and read each one. And it quickly dawned on me that I didn't want to do that. So I told my manager no. But then I quickly went back, and me and my teammate Erica tried to find a framework of thinking to analyze and understand what these look like from a standpoint of using vision models, large language models, and what we can do to basically simplify this process to make it more consistent in terms of how we review content, to how we can reduce recency bias in the tweets that we're looking at, and third, how to make this a bit more quantitative and a bit less qualitative. I think there's still a lot of room for making qualitative analysis and assessments, but to really make something concrete and communicatable to others, I think that quantitative aspect is really important to me. So what we came up with was a framework of thinking, and it led to a tool. This framework of thinking asks questions like, how would you classify the tweet? Is it technical? Is it education focused? Is it community feedback? Is it humor? Is it an announcement for a new feature, or is it an announcement for a new release? Does it have images? It would have been untenable to go over thousands of tweets manually. So what came out of this framework of thinking was a tool that starts off as a command line interface. Starts out with, you feed in the Twitter user account that you want to look at, the start date and the end date of the time frame for these tweets. And of course, Twitter has been making it a little bit harder to use their API in the last couple of maybe year and a half. It's been really tough to use the API. I remember back in 2016, it was just open. You can literally turn on the fire hose, and you would get every tweet on your machine, and you can do stuff with it. You didn't have large language models back then, so it's kind of useless. But now we're in a world where we have large language models, and we don't have the Twitter API. So we revert to a world where we look at tools like Selenium and WebDrivers. And Web Scraper is to like take out content from Twitter's web page and then take screenshots off the page. You cycle through until you hit all the tweets on the page. From there, with all the tweets on disk, we start storing the screenshots on a tool called ByteScale. You could have used S3, whatever. We used ByteScale because it was something we're familiar with. And then from there, we start to do some analysis. So there's tons of models in the markets now, and you can do things like image to text description. You can take extrapolations of text to create JSON. OpenAI released like a JSON mode flag in their developer day in November. And what we do with all this is we generate embeddings for the data that we care about so that we can do search with it later. And then we do search with Weaviate, and we visualize everything in a Next.js app. So what I'm going to do right now is just start out this tool that's going to run the command line interface, and I'm going to pass in this Twitter account, the start date, and an end date. Okay. Okay, so here's a tool. It's a script called extract. We pass in, I'll just pass in the Weaviate account, and we have January 14th to January 22nd. So when you start this, this spits up a WebDriver running Selenium, and then it deletes some elements off of the DOM to make it a little easier to take screenshots. And then we just start cutting through each of these tweets and allowing Twitter to auto-refresh because the infinite scroll makes it a little hard to scrape. But when this is done, we pass things down to a large language model, we pass things into a vision to text description model, and then we also just take note of the comments, the retweets, the likes, and the engagements, and we create like a rough engagement score for all this. I'm surprised that I haven't liked every one of these tweets. So while we're here, why don't we just like this one? Nice, okay. Okay, so tool's done, it'll kill the Selenium WebDriver, and then it'll start passing in each and every one of these tweets into a large language model, extracting the text and passing in the image. This is GPT-4 vision. And we're just saying, describe this tweet and tell me roughly how you would classify this. Is it more announcement focused? Is it more feature release focused, etc.? I'm going to kill this because the rest is less interesting, and you're going to see what the output actually looks like in a second. Okay, so this is the tweet extraction tool. What did I change? Okay, good. Didn't save anything. Okay, so this is the Twitter extraction tool. It's a script that just runs 4 Python scripts, and the output is this directory called the Twitter username, and then you get the screenshots of every one of these tweets. Okay, there's a little bit of misplacing of misplacement of the imaging because when I plugged in the HDMI, it changed the setting of like where this specific pixel is taken from. That should probably be programmatically set. But this is the more interesting file. It's called analyze data. And this is before it goes through the large language model pipeline. And when it is done, we end up getting some output that looks like this. So we now have an image context, which is GPT-4 vision output from looking at the image. And then from there, we use OpenAI JSON mode in GPT-4 to extract out all the content and put it into this large JSON blob. And so we do this over all the tweets. We've done this with over 191 tweets in March, and then we have data for April as well. And we look at classifications, so like community feedback and whether it had an image or not, or whether it was a reply, what the impressions look like, etc. So now that we have all the data here, we can do something like visualize it like this. And so this gives us the insight that like community feedback is a huge component of interacting with your developers. Announcements also is a large portion of LangChain's like strategy. I guess not right now, and this is kind of like an inside joke. Apparently, LangChain's Twitter account got hacked recently. So not right now, but usually they have like 17.2% of their time they're talking about announcements, and they have a lot of time spent on feature info, and not that much time spent on like event information, which was interesting for me. And then we looked at the engagement per category of analysis. And so we saw that, for example, the median retweet count versus category event information actually does really well, even though there's not a high volume of them. Or the educational content does on average as well as like feature info and educational content. Or in terms of likes, new releases is actually something that gets a lot of really good engagement. So this helped us craft our social media strategy, and we started to change and adapt to this. Okay, so what did we do after we had all this? Once we have the data in Weaviate and we have all the data chunked and extracted off of Twitter, we passed it into a tool called Social Search. Social Search is one of my sample projects that I published on GitHub. You can check it out. I'll share the link afterwards in a second. But because we have all the text, we can create embeddings for this information, and now we can do search over it. So I can do some search, something like this. Actually, let's go RAG. So RAG is an abbreviation for a concept called retrieval augmented generation. It's the idea you use to basically extract information from some kind of information system like Weaviate, and then you use all the data that's extracted and you pass it downstream to a large language model. And this is the idea of like augmenting your generation with some retrieved data. And this isn't working. Look at this. I got an array back. Okay, thank you so much, George. Can we get a round of applause for George? Thank you. So here are the tweets, and you can see each one of these screenshots are displayed on screen. If you click Learn More, you can see more, like a larger version of the screenshot, and also the context that's generated from the large language model before we extract out JSON. And then if you want, you can go actually look at the tweet like this. Let's just hope the screenshot looks like the actual tweet. Yeah, it does. Okay, and this is LangChain right now. Okay, so if we go back into my tool, this is Social Search. And it gives you these tweets. Now, there's something wrong with this UI that's really bugging me, so I'm just gonna do this thing real quick.
That's a good idea. It says recommended books. I was gonna say the
Looks bad and is not recommended books. Box. Nice. Okay, you'll see some come in soon. Oh my God. All right, now I can send this to me to fix later. But this is Social Search, and I've open sourced this on GitHub as Bookrex. It's basically the same framework. I just fed in data from a different JSON payload. But if you try this out, you'll get this. And actually, let's try it out. Okay, we type something like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Hunger Games. Nice. So yeah, this is what vector search gives you the capacity to do, and you can do all sorts of crazy cool things with like vector search over vast amount of data. This is my demo. Thank you so much. If you want to follow me on Twitter, here is my QR code. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone.